right, welcome back to The Jump. So lovely to have Malika Andrews joining us now. Best bookshelf in television. I'm just going to say it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Malika, the Nets host the Blazers tonight. As you know, Kyrie Irving will return to the lineup after missing last night's game, and Kevin Durant is now going to sit on the back-to-back. We still have no idea when James Harden is going to return. What have you noticed, Malika, about how Steve Nash has managed this revolving door lineup?
Well, Rachel, right now they're kind of having no choice but to embrace it. When I talk to Steve Nash about what it has been like, he says over and over again that we have just come to embrace the unexpected, because that has been the story of their season all year long. And he actually talked about it ahead of the Pacers game and mentioned something that he said put everything into perspective for him, and that was Karis LeVert being diagnosed with cancer. Now, obviously, he is okay. It was a mass that they were able to remove. He is playing again. We're all thankful for that. But he actually said that even though he only was able to coach Karis for a short amount of time, that was something that was really impactful, because in the grand scheme of things, he said that he was a little bit frustrated. What keeps him up at night is knowing how many minutes, the backlog of minutes that other players have had to pick up in the absence of a Kevin Durant, a James Harden, other people like that. But that is what he was thinking about, Rachel.
You know, Rachel, obviously, anyone who covered Steve Nash as a player probably realized he's as good a fit as there is to coach a team, just because of his demeanor, right? Like, just he was a coach on the floor in many ways when he was with the Phoenix Suns. So there was an expectation that he'd be good at this. But he's exceeded those expectations because of everything Malika just outlined and what you outlined, which is this thing has been chaotic in a lot of ways, and it hasn't felt that way, or as much, it hasn't felt as chaotic because of Steve Nash being so grounded, being able to kind of manage things, and getting the best out of those guys on that roster that are not named Durant, Harden, and Irving.
Yeah, and look, his relationship with Kevin, I was thinking the other day just about how the Warriors days you would see after practice, right? Do you remember this, George? You would see that just Steve and Kevin working on the floor, having some of those shooting contests and things like that. I think that also carries through in this situation, Malika, when you have to have people in and out and this and that. Do you think him having a shorthand with Kevin, a shorthand relationship with some of the other guys that he's been at events with over recent years, has that helped him too?
Yeah, and also experience, Rachel. I absolutely think that you're right. That has helped, and that's an astute observation. But I also think that Steve Nash has said sort of over the course of the year, he has grown and learned sort of how to be a coach, to take a little bit more authority, to figure out how to blend the I was a player and I know what you all are going through with also being now the authoritative figure. And that's something that came with time and with reps. But now at this point in the season, they're hitting sort of the right stride of those two things. Steve Nash has talked about the fact that he thinks he has figured out how to sort of protect these players from themselves, even in cases where Kevin Durant told me last night he wanted to play in this back-to-back. He thought maybe he lost some bargaining chips having to go back in the fourth quarter when their lead shrunk a little bit. Those sorts of decisions that Steve Nash is now making, and making them with authority, that's also giving him sort of a leg up and making him kind of realize some of the moves that he has to make as a coach that potentially he hasn't had to make in the past, even though he's been around these players, and that's shaken out recently.
And let's not undersell the staff that he built, okay, that has a ton of experience, including specifically Mike D'Antoni, his old coach, right? Because I know that everyone likes to look at Mike D'Antoni and say, oh, he never won the big one. But, man, I don't know if there's a coach that came any closer to winning the big one or getting to the big one than Mike D'Antoni has. And I remember specifically when LeBron, Wade, and Bosh won their first championship, Rachel, Eric Spoelstra called Mike D'Antoni to tell him, hey, your style won, okay? So you need to take some solace in that. And I do think that we should recognize Mike D'Antoni being a part of this as well.
Yeah, that positionless basketball, right? Everything that he pushed. And I think the players on the team now, even if they didn't, I mean, guys are young now. Not everybody knows some of Mike's early work. But even if they didn't see it firsthand, they know that he's responsible for this evolution in the game, and that makes his voice a little bit louder. I remember at the beginning of the season, Steve was talking about how I was just trying to control everything and do it perfect and do it right. And he said it was about 2 weeks in that he realized that's not going to happen this season. So I should just surrender to the chaos.
Forever.
That strategy has really, really helped him. Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.